You know, it's a super legit real show because we have a sign, unlike all those other shows that are all about money laundering and prostitution. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of World's Worst Humans. Today we're going to talk about the one and only man who's more famous than Adolf Hitler, Gregor MacGregor.
He's not more famous than Hitler.
That's what they want you to think.
We chatted on the dark and grim, laughed through tales of twisted whims.
Gregor MacGregor was born on December 24th, 1786 in Scotland. So he's a Christmas child bestowed with the magical powers of arson. Gregor MacGregor was a Scottish guy born on December 24th, 1786. So he is a child of Christmas with the obvious implications that comes with that. His mom died when he was pretty young, and his dad worked for the East India Company, who murdered tens of thousands of Indians for tea, which, you know, you got to have role models who teach you good things. Then he claimed at some point later in life to have gone to the University of Edinburgh, but then again, who isn't claiming that these days? That's the ultimate street cred. So, pretty unimportant, uninteresting guy up to this point, and that's when he marries a relatively rich woman from a rich family to get access to the money, which again is a super great life lesson in general. If you want to get places, you marry rich people. That's what you do. Marriage is not about love, it's about money and status. So he knew this, and after marrying her, he bought his way to status as captain in the military. A military? The military. It must also be noted that MacGregor got into the military when he was like 16 years old, and then he was in, Gibraltar for a while. He was in Portugal for a while. He's been around. Nobody liked him, but he was there doing stuff, and that's a good lesson for life in general, right? Nobody likes you. Nobody wants you there, but you show up anyway. So in 1810, he gets kicked out of the military, and they even give him back all the bribes he gave them to become captain. He has nothing now. He takes his wife, they go back to Edinburgh. So he decides he's going to call himself colonel. No one made him colonel. He just decided he's colonel now. So then he takes all his money and he spends that on like a wagon that he just sort of rides around town in all day and gets people to feed him grapes and like fan his face and stuff like that to get people to think that he's a big deal. Surprisingly, he can't pull it off, and that's wild to me, because who would have thought? Like, that sounds like the most amazing plan. It's basically a retirement plan. I think you can get a loan at a bank with that plan. But it didn't work, and so then he went to London, and then there he called himself Sir, and nobody knighted him Sir or anything, but he tries to rise to the ranks of the tops of society. Nothing works out for him, and then his wife dies. And then, the big question anyone asks themselves all day long is, what do you do when your wife dies? And I think we can all agree, you go to Venezuela. I think people are going to notice that we changed that angle, but our policy at this YouTube channel is, we don't care. So MacGregor arrives in Venezuela in 1812 with a dead wife and a pocket full of dreams, which is how most people arrive in South America. So there was a liberation movement at the time where Venezuela and all of South America was trying to free themselves from the Spanish. The Spanish were kind of the Nazis of their day. They were bad at the time. Who knew? But MacGregor allied himself with this really famous general guy called Simón Bolívar, which is exactly how they pronounced it, who was kind of like a liberation legend. Yeah, we don't have those anymore. But back then, there were people called liberation legends. It was an official title. So after 4 years of fighting and failing miserably, basically he's able, through a series of very lucky and insane maneuvers, to push the Spanish really far out of Venezuela, and he himself becomes a folk hero, and then also marries Simon Bolivar's fucking niece. And at the end of the day, like, do you even have career ambitions if you don't marry your boss's niece? I don't think so. So at this point, MacGregor is 30 years old. He's a hero. He's hailed by all. He's loved by everyone. Simone, obviously thinks he's a big fan. He's married to Simone's cousin? Niece. And so, he's got it made. So then he decides, what we're going to do now? We're going to capture Florida. Florida at the time was held by the Spanish. And so he gets a bunch of men, like 500 men, puts them on a big ship. And he goes, listen, you're all going to get your own piece of Florida. ocean real estate. So come with me and let's do this. So basically, they really do a sneak attack over there. They surprise all the Spanish people and they really take over this huge island. And then, as opposed to continuing onward, he just stops on that island and has a massive party. And then, in the middle of the night, he takes off with the ship and then leaves all of his soldiers to die. Now, if that was a one-time thing, you'd think like, wow, that's strange that he did that one time. But he did this like 16 times after that, again and again and again, in Panama, off the coast of Venezuela, in other parts of South America. This became kind of his thing to do, that he would go in kind of like a blitzkrieg, do really, really well, and then stop, and then get really, really drunk, and then take off with the ship while everyone else got executed. So then he went from folk hero to most hated ever. And Simone basically put a price on his head, and he had to leave South America and go back to London. And this is where he realized, I need to recreate myself. Or what is the equivalent of today, a healing journey for yoga women who have been to Bali to find themselves. Only the correct amount of bongo drums can get you to where you want to be, as the old saying goes. So in 1821, McGregor shows up in London, and he just declares that he's now the prince of the state of Poyais, which is obviously a country that he made up, but he's just incredibly, incredibly convincing. He makes a handbook about the geography of the place, like the history, the local population, the customs. It's like really, really detailed stuff. He sets up consulates all over the UK for the state of Poyais, and he's holding like, seminars and classes and hosting dinner parties. And then people are just like, oh my God, please let us buy some land there. He's like, I don't know, like, it's pretty popular. Like, everybody wants a piece, I don't know if I don't have the heart to sell it to anyone. And people are like, please let us buy land. So he starts selling the land for billions and billions of dollars. And then a year later in 1822, he just sends the first group of people to Poyais, which is a fictional place. So since most of these people are families and like have children, and there's like old people looking to like resettle on this new land they bought, most of them just like die basically, because they come down there is no Poyais, and so they just get dumped on an island, and then they believe so intensely that it exists, so they just send the boats out like, keep looking for Poyais. Even the captain's like, it's not real, you idiots. It's like, no, it must be real. And everyone believes it so intensely. There's a handbook, it must be real. Anyway, so a lot of these people almost die, and then they get rescued by a British ship, and then like all the ships that were sent out to look for Poyais, they have to get rescued. And then a year later in 1823, it comes out like, this is a scam, and all the people go, nope, that's impossible, there's a handbook, so don't tell me there's a scam. And they want to arrest McGregor, but they can't, because all the people who have bought the land, they're just like, no, it was us. We just navigated wrong. We just need to navigate harder, more, and do it different next time. McGregor would never fool us. There's a handbook. And so everyone he sold the land to and scammed kept defending him. So, obviously he's doing great things, and we could all take a lot of inspiration from the authenticity of his lying. Be a good liar and you get far. That's always the lesson. I've always said that since the 90s. So while all this chaos is happening in the UK, McGregor has already moved down to France, where he started the scam again. And so no one ever comes to arrest him or anything, because these people are just like, no, you don't understand. There's a handbook. He would never make a handbook if it wasn't a real place. And then the cops are like, you don't understand. You've been screwed over. Look at your bank account. There's zero in there. Oh, whatever. But I mean, it's all tied up in land in Poyais. We're fine. So all this chaos is happening in France. The whole thing starts over again. They love him in France. They love him. No one can get enough of McGregor in France. So they make him the honorary ambassador to Latin America. And he goes, great. So he just keeps sending people to Poyais. They're dying in storms. They're getting like shipwrecked. And like women, children, all kinds of people are just dying, looking for a fictional place, like drowning in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, like, I'm sorry, we failed you, McGregor, like dying with the handbook, like crying with the handbook, like, shivering back and forth on an island, like, oh my God, we should have tried harder, McGregor. So he was doing great things way before our time. And I think only Bernie Madoff even comes close to doing what he did. But then again, begs the question, how many people did Bernie Madoff kill? I bet you feel pretty silly now. So in 1838, McGregor's wife dies. And he's depressed, he's perplexed, and he's very tired at this point of being the Prince of Poyais. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? Who wouldn't be? Making billions of dollars, having people die, trying to find your fictional country. It's exhausting. And so he figures, what do I do now? Well, what does one always do after you lose a wife? You go to Venezuela. And that's been his go-to move. So he shows down there, dead wife number 2, pocket full of dreams, basic deal. But the guy who put the price on his head is no longer in charge down there. So he left in disgrace, but now there's no one enforcing that. And so where it used to be your duty to kill McGregor if you saw him down in Venezuela, it no longer is. And so now they basically look at him and go, wait a minute, aren't you McGregor that we fought with in 1816 and had all those amazing victories? He's like, yeah, that's me. You're a hero. And you're going to get a pension, and you're going to get hero status, and we love you down here. They haven't heard anything about France. They haven't heard anything about Prince of Fictional Country. And so, you know, he basically lives out the rest of his life down there and has no problems whatsoever. 500 people died as a direct result of his actions. He made billions of dollars selling fictional land, and he never got caught for any of it. And he died in 1845 of old age, and he never got confronted by anyone and had no problems whatsoever and was thought of as a hero. So at the end of the day, what's the lesson here, right? First of all, number 1, denial will get you farther than anything else in life. Empathy and all this other crap, that's just a hindrance to your goals, ambitions, and dreams. Tony Robbins said that. And to quote George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it. Because if there's anything that gets us through life, it's denial. And lastly, it's not what you do, it's what you get caught for. So at the end of the day, did McGregor do anything wrong? And we here in this program resoundingly say, no.
We chatted on the dark and grim, laughed through tales of twisted whim.